Hey guys, welcome back. Today's video is going to be a Project 100 Uses update, and I did get to 100 uses on another eyeshadow palette, which is very, very exciting. I created this project based on Too Much Tosh's 100 Club. I pick mostly eyeshadow palettes and face palettes and try to get to 100 uses because these are things I know that I will never finish or probably ever hit pan on. I do a lot of project pans though, where I am trying to use things up completely. So you can check out my Project Pan playlist for more videos. And if you are new, please subscribe. I upload 4 videos a week. I'm currently in the middle of a 3-month no buy, which is very exciting. And yeah, let's just get into this video. Each update, I only update on some of the products because I have quite a few things in this Project Pan. Also, a few people ask me how I track usage. I have a video on that. It's in the description box. So you can check that out if you are interested. So let's start with one of the face palettes. This one is the Natasha Denona Bronze Cheek palette, and I have used this one 37 times so far. I really love this face palette, and I have to say that the cream products are really, really growing on me. I love them so much. This cream blush is pretty subtle, but I'm actually really enjoying it, and the highlighter is stunning. So the more I use this palette, the more I love it, which is awesome. And for eyeshadow palettes and face palettes, I always mention this, but if I just use one item one time, that counts as one use. Or if I used the whole palette to create a look, that would still count as one use. Currently, the only other face palette in this project pan is this one, the Charlotte Tilbury Nude Gasm palette, and I have used this one 63 times. I actually haven't used this one in a little while. I really, really love it though. I think it is beautiful, and this formula is really nice. I love the blush, the highlighter, both bronzers. It's a really, really good palette. All right, let's move on to the eyeshadow palettes. Let's see. This one is, okay, Sigma New Mod. I have used this 16 times. I wish I had used this more, honestly. This is actually one of my favorite palettes in my whole collection. It is so beautiful. It's definitely my go-to for pinky purple looks. Um, I don't know. Part of me is like, do I like this color story even more than Natasha Denona Retro? I don't know, but I really love this palette. So I've only used it 16 times. I really need to use it more. It is absolutely beautiful, and I really like the Sigma formula. This is a really, really good palette. Then we have the Juvia's Place Magic palette, and this one I have used how many times? 31 times, which is not that much considering how old this palette is. I've had this for several years. So this is one I really need to use more. It is perfect for the spring, but lately I have just been so into neutral eyeshadows that I don't know, I haven't really wanted to use this. I did film a members exclusive tutorial with this palette actually about a month ago, and it's a stunning palette. It is. I don't know, I've just been in a neutral mood the last few weeks. Okay, next. I just dropped 2 Natasha Denona palettes on the floor. I am the worst. Oh my gosh. Nothing broke. I can't even believe it. I can't even believe it. Let's talk about Zendo before I break something else. I have used this 29 times, which really, considering that I've had this for several years, is not really that much. So again, I need to start using this one more. I did use this one quite a bit because I also had it in another project pan for a usage goal. So yeah, Zendo, I really love this one. I do. Um, and there's a lot of warm tones, but there's also some cool tones and the blues, which are really, really pretty. So yeah, that's a good palette. Okay, next up. So I mentioned Sigma New Mod. I love that one for mauves. My other favorite mauve palette is the Natasha Denona Retro, and I have used this one 70 times, which is exciting. This is one of the ones I just dropped on the floor, and this is one that I have hit pan on. This is one of my few palettes that I've hit pan, and I was convinced that that was going to break. Luckily, it didn't, but yes, I love this palette. It's really, really beautiful. So I think this is different enough from the new mod because that one has some more purples, whereas this one is leaning more pink and mauve. So to me, they're different enough to own both. So yeah, I've used that one 70 times. And then let's move on to, this is one that got added pretty recently into this project. Oh, and I am going to add in more palettes this update. I didn't say that, but I got to 100 uses on a palette. And I'm going to add in more. This one, I've only used this 3 times. This is the Fantasy Cosmetica Druid palette. It's a really, really beautiful palette, but again, I haven't been in the mood for colorful eyeshadows. I know, it's terrible. This one is really good. This formula is amazing. And they came out with the Rogue palette as well, which looks amazing. So I have this one, their other one, which right now I can't remember what it's called. And then they came out with the Rogue one, which I don't have. But this formula is really, really good. All right, Biba. So how many times have I used Biba? 57 uses for Natasha Denona Biba. Really good neutral palette. So yeah, now that I'm in the mood for neutrals, I need to start using this more because again, this is all I want to use lately is neutral eyeshadows. Um, Amazing. One of the best palettes really in my entire collection. This one got added at the last update, and that is the Blend Bunny Primal palette. And I've only ever used this twice ever since I bought it. I bought this palette in January before my no-buy started, and yeah, I've only used it twice. Now, like I said, I've been in the mood for neutrals lately, and this is a pretty colorful palette. I mean, there is like a brown and the white and the black, so I could do something more subdued with this. I guess I just haven't really been in the mood. I don't like to force myself to use things. If I feel like using something, especially when it comes to eyeshadow, like that's to me the funnest part of makeup. I want to use what I'm in the mood to use that day because eyeshadow is my favorite part of makeup. It's the most fun part of makeup for me. So if I'm not in the mood to use something, I don't. You know, foundation, I can use the same foundation for months in a row. It doesn't really bother me. But eyeshadow, I like to play with it and have fun with it. So yeah, only used this twice ever since I bought it. Again, luckily that's why I'm on no buy because I have a lot of makeup. So yeah. All right, and then the palette that I got to 100 uses on. Oh wait, no, hold on. There's one more. So this one is the Natasha Denona Green Brown, and this one got put in as a palette to get to 100 uses for a second time. I already got to 100 uses on this palette 2 years ago in this project pan. So since I put it in the project again, I have used it 7 times. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to do with this one here. And I did film a YouTube short tutorial with this earlier this week if you are interested. I've been in the mood for neutrals, so this is perfect. I really love this palette. It's so expensive, but it's a good one for sure. So 7 times in this round, but this is one that I have used well over 100 times because it was in this project pan, like I said, about 2 years ago. Okay, now the palette that I got to 100 uses on is the Dominique Cosmetics Latte palette. And this one has been exactly what I've wanted lately because, like I said, neutrals. So I have used this over 100 times. Now, it may not look like it. This is a very pigmented formula, very high pigment. I have used this shade a lot to set my eye primer. I've used this one and this one a lot, this shade quite a bit in the crease, and I've used the shimmers a decent amount. I've used these shades a few times, not a lot. Yeah, these are really, really pigmented eyeshadows. So that's something to keep in mind with this palette. And sadly, I discovered that this palette has been discontinued. I didn't realize that. Dominique Cosmetics has come out with some newer eyeshadow palettes and they don't have these older palettes anymore. This is a really good formula. Very high pigment, but very easy to blend. So you only need a little bit, which is why it doesn't look like it's that used, but I have used this over 100 times. All right, the last few videos that I did for this project pan, I came up with some categories and then randomly picked from those. This time I pulled out my laptop and I pulled up a random color generator. So what I think I'm gonna do is pick random colors and then I have to pick eyeshadow palettes. Either the color story has to match that color or the packaging. All right, so I have this up on my computer, picking a color. Okay, this is like a peachy pink. Peachy pink. Okay. All right. Let's pick another one. Ooh, a bright pink. Okay. Bright pink. That's going to be interesting. So peachy pink, bright pink. Let's pick one more. Purple. Okay. Remember how I said I was in the mood for neutrals? All right. Peachy pink, bright pink, and a purple. I'm gonna go figure that out and I'll be back. All right, I added 3 new palettes into this project based on those color stories. So for the peachy pink, I decided to go with Color Pop by the Rose. Now, this one I've used a decent amount of times, but I'm gonna kind of underestimate where I need to start from because for this project, what I do is how many times I've used the palette since I bought it. Now, I've had this palette for a while. Honestly, I've probably used this palette closer to 20 times, but I'm gonna underestimate that and I'm gonna say 10. So for sure, I know I've used this more than 10 times, but we'll start with 10 on this one. So this is the ColourPop by the Rose. I absolutely love this palette. Actually, last month I did a video that was half drugstore, half high end. This is the palette I used for the drugstore side. This is such a good palette, like one of the best palettes by ColourPop. So that one is going to start at 10 uses. Now for pink slash purple, these kind of overlap, but this is the one I went with for pink because the packaging is more pink. Um, there is also some pink shadows in here like this one and this one. This one's like a burgundy pink, but we're going with this. So this is the Sweet Indulgence by Sydney Grace. Now, this one is pretty easy to add in because I know for sure I've only used this palette twice ever, and I bought this Black Friday last year. So I've had this palette for, oh my gosh, that's like almost 5 months. So, and Sydney Grace is one of my favorite formulas. I love it so much. So yeah, this one is going to just start at 2 uses because that's how much I've used this palette. And yes, it is lovely. So yeah, the bright pink here, we're going with that. And then for purple, I've never used this palette. So pretty easy. We're starting at 0. This is the Beauty Bay Berries palette. Starting at 0 for this one, guys. Never used this palette. I know. This is why I'm on a no buy. I bought this in January and I have not yet used it. How sad is that? So yeah, I'm going to be adding this one into the project. So I'm pretty excited about this because this is going to start at 0. This is going to start at 2, and then we'll say 10, even though I have used it more. But I'm really enjoying adding in new palettes because it's kind of easy for me to keep using the same palettes over and over again because I'm like, oh, I want to get my usage up on those. Um, but yeah, I'm really excited I got to 100 uses on the Latte palette, and some of these, like this one, only use this one twice. But hey, you know what? I'm just doing this because I have a large eyeshadow palette collection and I want to get good use out of my palettes. So that is it for this update. I'm pretty excited about it. Like I said, this was inspired by Too Much Tosh. I will put her in the description box. And if you are new, please subscribe and have a great day.